find it preposterous for Black Americans to really be on some like, we don't F with immigrants. And I know that there's some who are like, well, they don't F with us, so blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I just need you to know that it's bigger than that. Like, much bigger than that. And they is a strong word. It's like, yes, there are people, but also like, this country has never operated without immigrants. Never at any point has this country operated without immigrants, including the white people who came here, because they are immigrants. Even worse, they're settlers.
Family, let me hit you with a question. Why is it that when African Americans go back to Africa, we're thinking about connection, about building, about returning home, but when immigrants come to America, the mindset is pure survival? Amanda Seales just touched on this, and whether you love her or not, she raised a point that exposes a deeper truth about why unity between Black Americans and immigrants often falls apart. This conversation is bigger than politics, it's about survival versus solidarity, and today we're breaking it all the way down. What's going on, family? It's your guy Shay Duke Jackson, back again with another episode of Celebrity Junk. Now, let's talk about Amanda Seales. I'll admit, she can rub a lot of people the wrong way, and I'm definitely one of them. But here's the truth, Amanda is far from unintelligent. In fact, she's incredibly sharp, articulate, and approaches issues with a perspective that's not always mainstream. She's a free thinker, never afraid to call out Democrats or Republicans when she feels it's necessary. Sure, she tends to lean left, but you'll often find her staking out a position right in the middle. And I have to give credit where it's due. Whether or not you agree with her, Amanda has a gift. She knows how to frame her arguments, and listening to her makes it clear she's working with real intellectual talent. Recently, she made a powerful observation about how some Black Americans perceive immigrants, and that's exactly the conversation I want to break down today. So, let's unpack what Amanda Seales is really saying here. And to be fair, a lot of her points aren't off base. She's basically arguing that the tension between immigrants and Black Americans isn't just about personal conflict, it's something bigger. Her first argument is simple. In every community, you're going to run into both good people and bad people. That reality shouldn't be the basis for disliking each other as groups. And honestly, right, at its core, that's true across the board. She also highlights something important. This country has always been built on immigration. Even the earliest settlers were immigrants in their own way. So when today's newcomers arrive, technically, they are just following the same path others did generations ago. Again, hard to argue with that logic. But here's where things start to get complicated. When Black immigrants come to America, a cultural divide forms almost immediately. And yes, that tension cuts both ways. Black immigrants sometimes feel mocked by African Americans, while many Black Americans feel these newcomers don't really want to align with them. Here's the deeper reality. When people don't share lived experiences or cultural history, empathy doesn't come naturally. Black immigrants arrive with no real connection to the struggles African Americans have endured here for centuries. That lack of common ground makes it harder for them to fully identify with or support one another. Now, on the flip side, African Americans tend to extend empathy more easily because they see Black immigrants as part of the broader Black community. But the reverse isn't always true. Without that historical and cultural bond, it's difficult for many immigrants to fully understand, or even relate to, the weight of the African American experience. And here's the heart of the issue. When you don't fully understand someone else's struggles, it becomes easier not to care about competing with them for resources. For African Americans, the frustration comes from this perception. We fought, we sacrificed, we opened the doors, and now others are coming in, benefiting from those hard-won gains, yet showing little concern for our ongoing battles. That's a point Amanda Seales didn't really dig into. It's not just about coexistence, it's about recognition. Imagine this. I'm living in Uganda right now. Whatever opportunities one have here, the chance to build a platform, to record my podcast, to earn a living, they exist because Ugandans built this nation brick by brick. Their blood, sweat, and sacrifices shaped the foundation I now benefit from. Sure, I brought my own money, my own hustle, but I didn't construct the roads, create the laws, or establish the economy. I walked into a system that was already functioning, and I get to enjoy the fruits of someone else's labor. That's the same way Black Americans see immigration. When newcomers arrive and succeed, they are standing on ground that was made stable through centuries of Black struggle in America. Civil rights battles, cultural contributions, and political fights paved the way for opportunities that didn't exist before. So when those immigrants then seem detached from, or indifferent to, issues still facing Black Americans, it feels like a slap in the face. Even if an outsider tries to empathize, the truth is their perspective is limited. Just like I'll never fully grasp what it means to survive on $1 a day in Uganda, immigrants may never completely understand the depth of generational pain, systemic racism, and ongoing barriers African Americans deal with. And that gap in understanding creates the friction we're talking about. See, that's the thing. No matter how hard I try, I'll never truly understand what it means to live off $1 a day. I can hear the stories, I can feel sympathy, but my daily life, the things I can afford, the opportunities one have, all of that makes it impossible for me to fully grasp that struggle. And that's exactly the point I'm making. Even as Black Americans come to Africa, there's this assumption that we understand what's happening on the ground. But the truth? We don't. Africa isn't one single story. It's a massive continent with dozens of countries, hundreds of tribes, and endless cultural differences. We don't know the unspoken rules of an African household, the politics of family life, or the weight of living with scarcity. So while we may care, we don't really understand, and because of that, we naturally have less empathy. Now, imagine this on the flip side. If I'm in Uganda, taking opportunities that locals might feel belong to them, they'll see me as someone who doesn't care about their struggles. That's just how it looks. If enough African Americans move to Uganda, bringing in skills, resources, or privileges, and then started excelling, it wouldn't be long before resentment grew. People would feel like outsiders were benefiting while they were still fighting for survival. That's exactly how African Americans feel when immigrants come to the US, succeed, and then turn around to call them lazy or criticize their community. Nobody wants to hear that. It creates strife, division, and bitterness. And on top of that, when it extends into the social sphere, like relationships and family, it gets even messier. Imagine finding out that immigrants don't even want their kids dating yours. That kind of rejection only deepens the divide. Now let's flip this around for a second. Imagine me living in Uganda, running a successful business, making money off opportunities that were built long before I got there. I'm benefiting from their infrastructure, their systems, and the sacrifices their people made. Yet at the same time, I start telling other African Americans, don't date Ugandan women. Don't marry Ugandan men. Stay away from them. How do you think that would make Ugandans feel? Resentment would build instantly, and rightfully so. Because here I am, profiting from their country, while disrespecting them on a personal and cultural level. And that's exactly what happens in America. A lot of immigrants, not all, but enough to notice, come here, succeed, and then push rhetoric that separates them from African Americans. I went to Howard University, and I saw it firsthand. Students from places like Trinidad and Tobago would get full scholarships in medicine or actuarial science at HBCUs, historically Black colleges and universities. But then you'd hear their families say, whatever you do, don't date a Black American. Think about how insulting that is. You're at a Black American university, built on the legacy of American struggle, and you're able to avoid the very people whose fight made that institution possible. How is anyone supposed to feel good about that? And here's the truth. Most immigrant groups don't come to America looking to build friendships with Black Americans. They come for their own families, their own survival, and their own upward mobility. Nothing wrong with that. It's human nature. But it does mean that building solidarity with Black Americans isn't on their priority list. Now compare that with the diaspora moving in the opposite direction. When African Americans go to Africa, or when Caribbeans return to the motherland, the mindset is often very different. We're not just thinking about survival, we're thinking about connection. We're thinking about building, about leaving a legacy, about this idea of returning home. That's powerful, because for many African Americans and Caribbeans, the trip back to Africa isn't just a relocation, it's a spiritual journey. It's about retracing roots, reclaiming identity, and finding belonging in a land that feels like it's always been calling. You'll hear brothers and sisters talk about wanting to reconnect with lost traditions, learn languages, invest in communities, or even start businesses that will help both themselves and the locals. There's a sense of purpose behind it, a feeling that says, this is bigger than me. I'm doing this for the culture, for history, for my people. Now let's be honest. When the flow is reversed, it usually doesn't carry that same spirit. Immigrants coming from poorer countries into America tend to approach things with a survival mentality. And it makes sense. If you're leaving a place where opportunity is scarce, where jobs are limited, where every dollar counts, you're not coming to America thinking about solidarity. You're thinking about staying afloat. You're thinking about providing for your family back home. You're thinking, how can I make it? How can I send money back? How can I create stability for my household? That mindset is very different. It's not about connecting with African Americans or building bridges with communities already here, it's about survival. And again, that's not necessarily wrong. It's just reality. If you've grown up in a survival mode, that mentality doesn't switch off just because you land in a new country. You carry it with you, and it shapes how you move. This is why you often see African Americans feeling frustrated. Because from their perspective, the expectation is that all Black people should naturally band together. There's this assumption that because we share the same skin tone, or some version of a shared history, unity should be automatic. But when new immigrants arrive, they are not coming with that mindset. They are not walking into America saying, I want to partner with African Americans, I want to build with them, I want to stand in solidarity. No, they are saying, I need to survive. I need to send money home. I need to build something for my family. On the flip side, when Black Americans head to Africa, there's no survival urgency in the same sense. Most who make that move are leaving a relatively comfortable environment. They are not starving. They are not running from war. They are not desperate to escape poverty. They are coming with resources, with skills, with education, with money saved up. And so when they arrive, they are not pressed about survival, they are thinking about contribution. They are asking questions like, how can I help here? How can I reconnect with the culture? How can I invest in the motherland? That difference in mentality makes the experiences worlds apart. African Americans going back to Africa often come with romanticized visions of unity, collaboration, and cultural exchange. Meanwhile, immigrants coming to America are stepping into an environment where they feel they need to compete, hustle, and grab every opportunity just to survive. And survival doesn't leave much room for solidarity. Here's the key point. Survival and solidarity rarely exist in the same space. When people are trying to secure food, shelter, money, and stability, their first concern is themselves and their family. And when that's the case, empathy for another group, even one that looks like you, takes a back seat. This is where much of the disconnect happens. African Americans often approach the diaspora conversation through a cultural or historical lens. We're all family, let's connect, let's build. But immigrants often approach it through a practical lens. I'm here to survive. I don't have time for anything else. Neither side is completely wrong, but the mismatch in expectations creates tension. Think about it. When African Americans visit Ghana for the year of return, they are welcomed as long-lost brothers and sisters. They are there to explore history, reconnect with heritage, invest in land, start cultural businesses. It's an exchange rooted in identity. But when someone arrives in America from, say, Nigeria or Haiti, their mindset isn't identity, it's economics. They are looking at America as a place to grind, to climb, to win. They are not thinking about African American struggles with systemic racism, with generational poverty, with political battles. They are thinking about their own grind. And again, that doesn't make them villains. It just means the expectations don't line up. African Americans expect solidarity. Immigrants expect survival. So, when Amanda Seales or anyone else talks about how these groups should unite, it's not that the idea is bad, it's that the mentalities are different. And until both sides can honestly acknowledge that difference, unity will always be more theory than practice. That's why honesty matters so much in these conversations. If we admit the truth, that one group often comes looking for identity and connection, while the other comes looking for survival and stability, then maybe we can manage expectations. We can appreciate the genuine connections when they do happen, without being disappointed when they don't. Because at the end of the day, unity isn't built on pretending. It's built on truth. And the truth is, African Americans and immigrants often walk into the same space with completely different goals. Recognizing that is the first step toward any real progress. Let's be real about this. When most people immigrate, the priority isn't to make friends or build solidarity, it's to survive. If you're from Kenya, Barbados, or anywhere else, and you land in America, your focus is on your family. If another group struggles while you're succeeding, that's not going to keep you up at night. And that's just the honest truth. This is why the constant push for African Americans to unite with immigrants often feels empty. Unite to do what, exactly? My own views on Pan-Africanism have shifted a lot this past year because I've realized much of it is one-sided. There's no real parity in the relationship. Think about it. When you come from a poorer country and enter a richer one, you're almost forced into a survivalist mindset. You're under immense pressure to send money back home, to secure your own footing, to focus on your immediate circle. And when you're locked in that survival mode, collaboration isn't your priority, it's survival. Take Africans in Dubai, for example. I know countless Ugandans working there, and many don't even have the time or energy to connect with other Ugandans, let alone Nigerians or Sierra Leoneans. They are grinding every single day to send money back home, to buy land, to support their families. They didn't travel halfway across the world to build new relationships, they came to secure their own. So when that same mindset carries over into America, it makes sense. The idea of, let's all build community together, let's unite, let's collaborate, that's simply not what's on their mind. The mentality is, what about my family? What about my land? What about me? And that's why, in practice, this so-called unity between immigrants and African Americans rarely works the way people dream it should. See, here's the reality. Back in their own countries, most immigrants weren't building tight-knit communities across the board, it was survival of the fittest. Sure, some might have stuck together by tribe or family, but that broader idea of collective unity just wasn't there. So when we project that dream onto America, we set ourselves up for disappointment. Now, don't get me wrong, Amanda Seales isn't entirely off base. In a perfect world, what she's saying would make sense. And yes, there are incredible people in the diaspora, immigrants who are genuine, collaborative, and uplifting. But let's keep it real. Those experiences are the exception, not the rule. Most of the time, you're not going to find that warm, open solidarity people love to talk about. That doesn't make anyone bad or wrong. It's just the truth. When immigrants first arrive, especially Black immigrants, the priority isn't community, it's survival. Over time, once they've been here for years, once they've been Americanized, things shift. But that's a different conversation. What we really need, family, is honesty. Straight up. Too often, we get caught up in these idealistic conversations where everybody wants to pretend the world works in a certain way, when deep down we all know it doesn't. Why can't we just admit this dynamic for what it is, instead of pretending it's something else? Until we start keeping it real, nothing will ever change. And I'm not just talking about relationships between Black Americans and immigrants, I'm talking about the way we see each other, the way we interact with other communities, and even the way we see ourselves. Honesty is uncomfortable. Nobody likes to admit when things aren't going smoothly, or when we're not getting the kind of reciprocity we expect. But without truth, all you're left with is illusions. And illusions can feel good for a while, they can make you feel like something positive is happening. But eventually, the truth comes knocking at the door. And when you've built your worldview on lies or half-truths, that's when disappointment hits the hardest. Take the example we've been discussing, this idea of unity between immigrants and African Americans. Now, don't get it twisted, unity sounds beautiful on paper. I wish it was always real. I wish every single person who came from the diaspora arrived in America eager to lock arms with the Black community that's already here, to fight together, to build together, to thrive together. But that's just not the case. And pretending otherwise sets us back. Think about it. Most immigrants aren't coming to America looking for friendships. They are not thinking about joining forces with African Americans. They are thinking about survival. They are thinking about their families back home, about money to send across the ocean, about building land or houses where they came from. And that's human nature, there's nothing inherently wrong with it. But it does mean that the kind of solidarity people like Amanda Seales talk about is often one-sided. And here's the part we need to face, when that one-sidedness shows up in real life, it hurts. Black Americans look around and feel like they've sacrificed so much, bled, fought, marched, and died to make this country open up opportunities. And yet when newcomers arrive, instead of gratitude or alliance, many times there's indifference, competition, or even disrespect. That's the raw truth. And it can't be swept under the rug by sugarcoating conversations about unity. Now, I'm not saying there aren't amazing individuals from the diaspora who truly connect, collaborate, and add value to our community. Of course there are. Some people come with the right spirit, the right energy, and the right intentions. But let's be honest, That's not the majority. And that's why honesty matters. We can't build strategies, we can't build expectations, and we can't build trust on exceptions. We have to deal with the reality we see every day. And let's also flip it around, because this honesty cuts both ways. Black Americans sometimes assume that just because someone looks like us, they automatically understand us. That's not true either. Culture is powerful. History shapes perspective. And someone who grew up in Lagos, or Kingston, or Port-au-Prince doesn't have the same lived reality as someone who grew up in Detroit, Chicago, or Atlanta. Expecting automatic empathy is just as unrealistic as expecting automatic unity. So, when I say we need honesty, I mean all around. We need honesty about what people are here for. We need honesty about what people prize. We need about what we, as Black Americans, should and shouldn't expect from other groups. If we can accept that survival comes before solidarity, that cultural differences matter, and that not everyone is here for us, then we can stop being disappointed when things don't work out the way we dream they should. And here's the upside. Honesty doesn't have to mean bitterness. Just because things aren't the way we wish they were doesn't mean there's no room for growth. If we start from a foundation of truth, we can build realistic bridges, not fantasy ones. We can celebrate genuine connections when they happen, without demanding them from people who aren't offering them. We can focus more on strengthening our own communities, so that when alliances do happen, they are a bonus, not a necessity. That's why I say honesty is the only way we can really deal with it. Because once you're honest, the disappointment fades. You stop expecting everybody to ride for you, and you put your energy into those who truly will. And that clarity, knowing who's for you and who's not, that's real power. So family, I'm throwing the question back to you. What do you think? Am I keeping it too real? Or do you see the same dynamic playing out around you? Do you think Amanda Seales has a point? Or do you think she's oversimplifying things? Let me know your perspective in the comments below. You know I read what you'll write, and those conversations help shape future episodes. With that said, it's your boy, Ashay Duke Jackson, back at it again with another episode of Celebrity Junk. I appreciate you for tuning in, for supporting the channel, for always engaging in these tough conversations. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, smash the notification bell, and keep rocking with us as we continue to break these issues down. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.